Merry meet everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. I wanted to come on here and make a video, and this is something that I have been um, going around and around with. It's ruffled my feathers a little bit, and I wanted to discuss it with you. So before I go any further, let me introduce myself in case you don't know me. My name is Sirona Rose, and I have been on my spiritual path for over 25 years. I have um, I have studied so many different religions and spiritualities, cultures, philosophies, and my path is that of the feminine. It's goddess centered. I am a high priestess of the European Celtic tradition. I am I am legally ordained. I'm a Reiki master. I read tarot, astrology, cartomancy, I'm an herbologist. I've been using herbs for years and years, and I've done a lot in the community, and I have been able to experience a lot of diverse thinking and paths. So when I'm writing this, I am using information that I have found, stuff that I have found in my research, as well as my perspective, my experiences, and yeah, so I want to share this with you, and especially if you are a woman, I really want to express this with you because one thing that really gets me is that women are taught spirituality from a masculine viewpoint. And that has really, really damaged the feminine. For centuries, most spiritual teachings were written by men for men in patriarchal cultures. Because of that, the language and goals of spirituality have been shaped through a masculine lens. Transcendence, detachment, discipline, the ultimate conquest, which is killing the ego. But women's spiritual needs are the opposite, and they are not the same at all. And science does support this. So I want to explore both sides. I will not go too much into the masculine as much as I'm going to go into the feminine. Okay? Because we already know the masculine. We live it. We've been conditioned. We've been brainwashed into it. We have been raised in the cults, right? Of organized religion. So many ancient traditions emphasize dissolving the ego, suppressing the personal desire, transcending emotion, and withdrawing from the world to find enlightenment. And that is not something that's very good for women. Suppressing personal desire is something that the masculine has to do. And I don't have to go into that because we see the world how it is right now. The approach is very yang, is masculine, and it is about force, separation, and conquering the lower self, which is something they must do. They have to conquer their animalistic instincts in order to um, spiritually awaken. So, when we think about that, we think about monks, okay? Monks are known, they're mostly men, and they live high up on the mountains by themselves, away from communities or on islands. Regardless, they live in isolated areas away from the community. Their roles involved renunciation, and their nervous systems are conditioned for detachment. But women, again, are built differently biologically, psychologically, as well as spiritually. Yes, again, you don't believe me, go do your own research. Women do not need to kill the ego. No, that is what gets us really hurt. We need to love and integrate it. Absolutely. For women, ego isn't an obstacle, it's a boundary system, it's an intuitive warning system, and it is an identity anchor. Many women lose themselves not because of ego, but because of lack thereof. most women are the ones that are doing the caregiving. We are doing the pleasing, trying to make everybody in the house happy. We are mostly quieted, especially in organized religion, where women are expected to be seen and not heard. Their voices, they shouldn't have a voice. They shouldn't preach. They shouldn't do this, that, or the other. Again, it is putting a woman in an oppressive role. For women, the spiritual wound isn't ego inflation, it is the absence of the ego. For women, um, without an ego, becomes easily drained, overly empathetic, lack of boundaries, disconnected from desire, and spiritually bypassed. So while men need to soften the ego, women often need to reclaim it. And this looks like, when women do not have a strong ego, when they're not rooted in their ego, they can be they're very easily manipulated. That's why they fall prey a lot to abuse. That's why they're abused a lot. What is it, 3 women a day in the United States that are harmed? I can't say certain things because of the platforms this video will be on, but you know what I'm saying. So women are cyclic beings, okay? And this is one reason why in my tradition we study the will, because the will is a cycle. It teaches us how to become one with the earth and how to um, energetically be one with the earth as we're supposed to do. The feminine path is about embodiment, it's about intuition, it's about emotional intelligence, it's rational awareness, it's spiritual grounding through the body, cycles, and nature, which is why I thought it was very important that I do this video outside because this is the feminine. I'm embraced in my mother. This is my home, right? Women awaken through connection and not withdrawal. That is why so many women feel disconnected from traditions that demand they silence their intuition, that they deny that their sensuality, they suppress their emotions, they detach from relationships. You see, our power comes from the opposite. The opposite. It's so strange because they'll say that men and women are different, but yet they want to spiritually teach you, religiously teach you in a masculine system where you do not belong. So, women's nervous system actually backs this up. And I'm going to go into some of the scientific differences that support these spiritual needs, okay? Science backs up what women have been saying all along. They have intuitively known this. Um, our nervous systems are about relation, they're relational. So we have higher baseline oxytocin, we have a stronger mirror neuron activation, we have greater emotional attachment, and we have a heightened limbic system response, which means women regulate through connection, not isolation. So when spirituality teaches withdrawal and detachment, it goes against the feminine nervous system. Yeah. Hmm. Also, let's look at our hormone. Women have hormonal cycles, and that affects our intuition and consciousness. Women experience heightened intuition during follicular and ovulatory phases, deeper shadow processing during their luteal phase, and more spiritual sensitivity during menstruation. Traditional masculine spirituality ignores cyclic wisdom. It ignores all of that. What the woman is, it it ignores the very essence of the feminine. Women's brains also process emotionally different from the men. Neuroscience shows women have more robust interhemispheric communication that is bridging the left brain and the right brain together. They have deeper emotional memory, stronger intuitive pattern recognition, and women reach spiritual insight through feeling, sensing, and relational wisdom, not through the ego death. So, how do we approach the ego from a sacred feminine viewpoint? For women, the ego is not something to kill, but something to heal and to integrate. Okay. So women need to have a strong ego. Um, to prevent self abandonment. They need to have a flexible ego to allow intuition to guide them. They need to have a rooted ego to maintain those boundaries. Boundaries are so important. I see so many women getting hurt. Without those boundaries, we get in these manipulative, um, abusive relationships that have us to self abandon ourselves all the time in order to keep the peace, to not be abused, to make sure the children are fed and have a roof over their head. Women are not taught, what do we do if the marriage doesn't work out? How are we going to support our children? I wasn't, not my age range. Um, no, you get married. You go with the husband. Um, and that has left a lot of us wounded and in positions to where we cannot take care of ourselves and our children. Therefore, putting us in situations where we are having to stay in abuse. We are having to stay in this detrimental place that is slowly killing us physically, not to mention, spiritually, but it's slowly killing us. And we're done so by design. So, when we heal our ego, we understand that we say, I matter. I matter. My needs are sacred. My body is wise. My feelings are informative. It took me a long time to realize that the nervousness, butterflies in my stomach, was not being like, oh, this is the one. It was trying to warn me. Our body, when we get in situations, our bodies will try to do that. But yet we're told, oh, just give him a minute and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. There's all kinds of different excuses offered up. Why do you have to do this? And I have seen it in my path of the feminine, people that are supposed to be worshiping a goddess. They're saying, oh, that's just, trying to bypass something. When men do weird things, when they stalk you, when they do creep like things to you, it's like we're supposed to ignore that. No, we're supposed to set our boundaries and say, stop, this is not acceptable. And that's another thing that has, where this patriarch society has failed men, is that they have allowed them to become completely unhinged, you know that is spiritual maturity for the feminine, when we realize that we do matter. Everything about us matters. And what we have to aim to is, we know that there's not exactly balance that's achieved in this world. It's more of a harmony. And so when we have a harmonic spirituality, it honors both of them. So the masculine spirituality is about rising above, it's about transcending as well as detaching, whereas feminine is telling us to go within, to embody, to integrate. We need both, okay? But women have been taught only the masculine path. And we can see that. We can see this with women who compete against each other, women who have affairs with married men. This is the biggest one. I had a woman who, she was saying that she was having an affair with a married man, and um, the wife knew about it, and the wife was very hurt. It was destroying the marriage, and the other woman didn't care. She was fine. That's their whatever. And when confronted, she said, and she calls herself a feminist. We can call ourselves anything we want to call ourselves, but how we walk our talk is is the evidence, right? But she was saying that she's feminist and that's her right, and she's taken that. No, honey, you were falling prey to the patriarch conditioning of women competing against other women for a man, like he is the some great prize that you'd win. No, ma'am, that is not what we do. We help other women. We are about connecting with other women. It is that patriarch that pins women against women. Competition is masculine. And now it's like we're having to compete against men. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. It is time we wake up as women and stop falling prey to these detrimental ways that is causing our destruction. So, when a woman practices spirituality through a masculine model, she often loses herself, becomes disconnected from her intuition, suppresses her emotions, spiritualizes trauma, trying to detach from her body, becomes more depleted than awakened. The feminine path restores what the patriarchy erased, which is the body, the ego, and the desire, um, all of which are sacred. So, and speaking of desire, you know, I know people, women who work in an adult field, or they participate in adult activities. And many times it is the husband that gets them involved. Um, but somehow, some way they feel like they need to do this, and that's fine. You do you. You do what you have to do to survive. I don't walk in your shoes. I don't live your life. I live mine. So, but when we get into these adult places, only when a man is benefiting from you is he praising you. The second that you do something that wrongs him, turns away from it, or, whatever, he will show you exactly what he thinks about you. The name calling will begin. It always does. So, it is time for us to step into a new paradigm where the woman chooses herself. The spiritual evolution of a woman is not to become less, but to become more. If I had a penny for every time I have been told I was too much by a man, I'd be a rich woman. And one thing that really turns me off, and I had a really a good friend, and I was passionate about something, and I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "You need to calm down. It's too much, blah 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 blah." And I knew right then he was not my company. He does not, and he was supposed to be in the feminine type of in the feminine type of path. He was supposed to be that. He was supposed to um, be of a goddess path, so to speak, and understand that. And when he told me that I was too much, that is just when I just kind of like, wow, wow, we are definitely not the same people, and you are not my tribe. And that's when I backed off because that was not for me. So women need to become more embodied. Embrace yourself. You are beautiful. Look what you have brought into this world. Be more intuitive. You feel, you know it. You know it. Now feel it. Act on it. Be more expressive. Dull colors, gray, black. Yeah, we like to wear them too, but express yourself more. Dip into the arts a little bit. Be more connected. Connect to your girlfriends. Connect to the land. Connect to your tribe. That is what you're supposed to do, and have more sovereignty. When I hear a woman tell me that she doesn't watch the news and she doesn't read it or anything, everything that she knows that she needs to know, her husband tells her. That is a woman that has completely lost herself in the masculine system. She has lost her identity. And I will say, this woman indeed does, has stopped taking care of herself as a woman. Um, So, anyway, for women, spirituality is not about an ego death. It is about an ego rebirth, and it is a return to the self after centuries of suppression. So, the wild feminine soul is about taking control of yourself and your sovereignty. We've been told, we have been told that what we feel like our bodies, our instincts, our rhythms, right, are not right. They're not honored. We are taught to silence our emotions. You need to stop crying, or I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Oh, just get over it. Sweep it under the rug. How many times have we been told that? And it's about detaching from our desires. What do you desire? Your dreams and everything. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was taught that. I was taught that. I was taught to sacrifice everything for my family. But I promise you, that was not turned around. I have sacrificed so much of myself for so many people that I can tell you right now that that has harmed me, not just spiritually, but physically as well. And that is why, you know, older women can be such a fountain of knowledge for younger women to help them to not fall prey to these manipulative ways, not to sell yourself short. That house on the hill might be great, and that Mercedes you're driving might be wonderful, and all this stuff might be great, but at what price? What price? And that's exaggerating. I know. We have to be careful of the choices that we make. Um, those teachings that we were taught were never written with the feminine in mind. And if you don't believe me, please go back and do your research. The Dark Side of Christian History is a good book to read. I know there's other books that expose what happened and how that occurred. Um, go do your research. So now women everywhere are remembering something ancient. Our spiritual path is not about an ego death. It is about an ego return, ego healing, and ego rebirthing. It is the heart of the sacred feminine. And give me just a moment. I'm going over my notes here, making sure I did everything right. So, the masculine model of spirituality, again, does not fit a woman's spirit. We look at these monks, these hermits, they were detached, they were out there. They were living apart from the world, which is wonderful. It makes sense for the masculine nervous system. But that is not what the feminine nervous system is about. And as well as a woman's psyche. A woman's psyche is not built for severing from life. It is built to listen, to feel, to respond, to tap into those cycles and to connect. Our spirituality, you have to understand this, it's not linear. That's why you see circles, all the circles and the spirals. You know, it spirals like our womb. Our womb. Think about that, like the moon. Um, we need one thing that women do is they lose themselves not because their ego is too big, but because culture trains them to have no ego at all. So caregiving, people pleasing, managing emotions, making peace, these roles, oh my goodness, erode the very identity spirituality later tells women to transcend. So, yeah, when we are lost into that, and we do get lost in that, and us being mothers, of course, we're going to do what we need to do for our babies, and that's true. Um, so at the same time, we need to learn to care for ourselves because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Women should approach um, spiritual, I'm sorry, in this way, in this teaching that we are to have no ego at all. Women approach spiritual work with weaker boundaries. I see this happening a lot. I see older men taking advantage of younger women. I know that some women do it too, but I mostly see young men going for those young girls, like young teenage girls, 14, 15. They get them, they try to make them into what they want, the mold. They mold them, they groom them. That's the biggest thing. And I've seen it happen, and I have seen how it hurts them. And honestly, if I was around when some of this was happening, I would have been very vocal about it. Also, women within that masculine culture, they have a chronic self-abandonment issues. They have heightened empathy. They have emotional labor fatigue. They have difficulty in saying no, and they live a lifetime of being told to shrink. You're not to shrink. To ask a woman like this to kill her ego is spiritual harm. Yeah, yes, everything that these masculine religions, organized religions, is spiritually harmful to her. Women do not need to suppress themselves. They need to reclaim themselves. They need to tell themselves they are allowed to take up space. Their needs matter. My body is wise. My intuition is not negotiable. Yes, please listen to your intuition. How many times do you feel like, oh my goodness, I should have listened to my intuition? Oh, I knew not to do this. Oh, blah, 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 blah. You know. So it's time to unravel. It's time to deprogram and rewire. While masculine spirituality travels upward and outward, the feminine path travels downward and inward. The women awaken through sensation, intuition, emotional resonance, erotic life force, connection with nature, relationship with others, body wisdom, cyclic rhythms. This is the holy feminine trinity: body, earth, emotion. This is why women feel spiritual alive when we are, you know, taking herbal infusions, when we bleed with intention, make tinctures, we read tarot cards and oracle cards and stuff like that. We get out, we plant, right? We plant little pretty flowers and herbs and vegetables. We touch the soil. We dance. We feel that rhythm. We deeply breathe and we commune with the moon. We don't leave the body to find God, goddess, divine, whatever you want to call it. We enter the body to find her. So, in my work with herbs and tarot, I've noticed this: herbs heal the body, and tarot heals the psyche. And together they awaken the feminine soul. And I'm going to do an example and then I'm going to close this. Like, I want to use mugwort. Mugwort is one of my favorite herbs. Mugwort plus the High Priestess card. So, mugwort opens the dream gates and strengthens psychic sovereignty. Women who've silenced their voice or doubted their intuition find their clarity again here. This pairing restores inner knowing, which is the foundation of a strong, healed ego. Now, Um, one thing too I want to cover, and then I'll close this because I think this is important. I am going to be taking this into a deeper, broader path so we can fully open this up. And I'm going to be talking about psychic protection as well. This is something I have written a little booklet for. My students that has helped them learn how to psychically protect themselves, and I will share that with you too. Um, One more card I want to share. The herb is rose, and the card is the Empress. So, rose softens and strengthens at the same time. For the women whose ego has been eroded by trauma, caregiving, or emotional labor, Rose reminds her, you deserve softness and sovereignty. The Empress is the archetype of a woman who knows she is worthy. So you can do these things. You can take these cards, you can take the Empress, if that's what you're wanting to do. Um, or you can take the High Priestess card and you can do little rituals to this. You can put this on your altar. You can learn how to incorporate that. And if you would like to learn more of how to do that, let me know. Also, I have a Substack page where I do a lot of writing on there. Go check that out. I talk about, excuse me, I talk about how play is important and all of these different things. I talk about herbs and readings and things like that. So go check out my Substack. I will link it. And again, I will go into this deeper. I took a deep dive into this and I'm willing to go even deeper. And I invite you to come along. I invite you to unravel all of the misinformation and the crude programming that you were that was instilled in you and you were told is correct, which is actually harming you. And I invite you to step on this path of feminine healing and feminine sovereignty and learning how your spirituality will really connect you to who you are. Merry part, everyone. I wish you all many, many blessings.